Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the Donjo number 1512 CP. This is a chrome-plated hinge pin doorstop is what it is. The 1512 is representative of the fact that it's a hinge pin doorstop. It's available in a BP finish, which would be a brass plated type finish, and then the CP, which would be a chrome plated type finish. That's what this is. Okay. Common. It's a common piece of hardware that you'll see in residential applications, and its purpose is to limit the degree of opening that the door can achieve. And it does so by a means of physically preventing the hinge leaf, when this is installed, to go past a certain point. Let's take a look at the installation instructions. So, to go through this product, we'll start there. Click on the link below this video, if you will, to the installation instructions, and you will see a visual overview of how this installs. And to go through the product, we'll just go through the steps of the installation instructions. What you'll do with this is you will remove, if you've got 3 hinges on the door, remove the top pin hinge. Carefully drive that out. You should be able to do that without too much trouble, depending on the type of hinge that you're trying to install this onto. This is really made for interior residential doors, is what it's made for. And it may not work on every hinge, or it may not be a good idea to install this on every type of hinge in the world. You're probably not going to want to install this on a hinge on an exterior door that has like ball tip hinges on it. It will drastically change the look of the door, but also the weight of that door could cause trouble, because this is a very positive, meaning it's a dead stop. When the door gets to a certain degree, it will physically stop, and the only way for it to move forward or to go past that point is to literally start to bend the leaves of the hinge and put significant pressure on the screws that are holding the hinge leaf into both the door, but primarily the frame. So you won't want to exceed that. Light duty use only on like a 3.5 or even a 3-inch, I suppose, or a 3.5 or certainly a 4-inch hinge. So step 1 is where if you've got 3 hinges on the door, remove the pin from the top hinge. You've got a middle and a bottom, so you're not concerned with the door falling out. If you've got only 2 hinges on the door, you'll probably want to do this certainly in the closed position, or have someone helping you control the door from falling too far. Or you might simply, as you've driven the pin out, and let's say you're holding the door with this hand and trying to drop it in with your opposite hand, you might want someone to help you doing that. So step 1 is remove the old hinge pin. Step 2, insert the new unit. Now, before you do that, it'll come from the factory assembled like this. I suggest, and there is an Allen wrench drive in the top of that, remove the top threaded cap. Be sure not to lose that. That's all specialty parts. Pull the limiter off, and then drop this unit down into the barrel of the hinge. The length on the pin, about 4 1/8. The diameter of this pin, and that's important to know, you'll probably want to compare that against your existing hinge pin diameter before you're sure that it's going to fit, is 0.313. 0.313 is the diameter on that, okay? So keep that in mind. That groove that's been cut into the pin tells me that this is potentially used on hinges that have a security pin feature in them, where there's a set screw that will, if the barrel is exposed, it cannot be driven out because that set screw has been tightened and fits into that groove, preventing the pin from being driven out. So that's why that's there. I'm also going to think that the pin is a subcomponent that can be used in different assemblies, and the fact that that groove is there is never going to come into play when you install a hinge pin doorstop like this, but that's why that groove is there. Now, once you have this installed, step 3, adjust top cam until door opens to the desired angle. Then you install, okay, so install the top cap. Okay, step two. Okay, step two is drop the door saver into it. I skipped something. You're going to install this in step two. Then what you'll do is install the cam A, is what it's called, into the geared assembly. But what I would do is I would install this into the hinge. I would then open my door to the point where I will want it to stop, and that's where I'll drop this cam A into. Okay, and then I would make any adjustments necessary by lifting it and moving it to a next geared tooth. Here's what I mean. If you were to set this so that it was geared like this, you're going to be able to achieve a significant degree of opening, because when the door opens, this shoulder is going to make contact with the back side of the hinge leaf. This shoulder is where the back side of the door leaf of the hinge will make contact with and then stop. So the door will get to a point where it will push it, and then this this shoulder here is what will then prevent the door from going any further. So you simply get the degree set, and then you drop the top cam in so that you are achieving the proper degree of what you want it to stop at, the degree of opening that you want it to dead stop at. Once you've got that set correctly, you are then going to just simply put the threaded cap on, and then you'll be done with the installation at that point. Top cap goes on only once you've got it set to the exact length that you like. Okay. Now, a hinge pin door stop like this is a very useful piece of hardware in a situation where you don't expect any damage or any abusive type use, because this weighs a quarter pound. When the door, that's to give you a sense that it's actually quite heavy. It seems heavy. It's made of steel, okay, for that magnet. This is not going to break under normal use. The piece itself will not. If you imagine your door opening and then that first shoulder hitting the backside leaf of the frame hinge, and when your door hits the other leaf, when the door leaf hits the other side of the hinge pin door stop, if you were to continue pushing it, something's going to give. You'll initially start to bend the hinge, and then ultimately you can certainly compromise the integrity of the screws holding the leaves in, as I had said earlier. This is only a problem if you expect for it to be hyperextended. An adult would not knowingly do that, obviously. You might have a situation where I've had people call me up and said, my dog weighs 110 pounds. I'm afraid if he jumps up and leans on the door, he might damage something. Well, the truth of the matter is, yes, that I suppose that would be possible. I don't believe that a hinge pin door stop like this is a necessarily elegant approach to stopping a door, because there is hardware, and the point of all of this is that there is hardware that is more elegant to do this job, and that's called an overhead door stop or an overhead door stop and holder. However, installing such a piece of hardware, which is orders of magnitude more costly than this, is not always and is usually not a realistic way to control the door. It's like a slide track assembly. Think of it that way. So when you consider the fact that that's probably not a solution, you then look at what are the other solutions. Well, maybe a baseboard mounted door stop. Obviously that's not the case with a scenario that you're going to use this. You might not be able to mount anything to the floor either, or to the back of the door. You could have a scenario where you've got a kitchen door in a home that opens up to an island, you know, in the kitchen prep area of the room, and then you've got a table over here. Well, because that's a countertop, there's no toe kick at the bottom where you can mount something, and mounting something onto the floor is not very elegant, because when the door is closed, you'll have that door stop on the floor. That could be a scenario where you could use this, because you're already aware that you don't want the door to open up into the island, so you're always cautious about the door to begin with. So this could be a good application for that, where you're not going to extend the door. So they're great when they're used under a controlled circumstance, they're effective because they will truly dead stop the door. And if there's not a lot of inertia pushing on the door to begin with, you're really not going to have much to worry about. But scenarios where it could be vandalized, it's potentially problematic. So keep that in mind. I've had people email me photographs. Now what do? I ripped the hinge out of my frame and I've damaged my frame to the point where the particle board came out, and there was no real way to no easy way to fix that sort of scenario. So anyway, now the name Donjo is synonymous with trim and auxiliary hardware. There is a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up. And by the way, before we move on, there is a technical drawing of this item down below, and it's called Template. Now, there is a link below this video to the manufacturer's page in our website where you can pull up not only all of the Donjo products that we sell, but a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. But also on that page are links to all of the subsection catalogs out of the Donjo full-line catalog, because the full-line catalog is actually a bit unwieldy. It's large. You'll see all the sections in a single sort of dose, which if you're looking for door stops and holders and bumpers, you might just click on that subsection because you'll see just these items, and it's this item and its related items is the point. If you know Donjo, you probably know them for their door reinforcing wraparound plates or latch guards, but they make a lot of other material and a quite comprehensive provider of practically all things trim and auxiliary hardware. I'm partial to Donjo, and it's because they've got a good quality product, an excellent value, good confluence there, great customer service, and on the rare occasion that they make an error, they make it good right away. Shipping out 605 when it should have been 609, or polished brass when it should have been antique brass. Very rare to happen, but if it ever does, when it does, very rarely, they're good about that is what I'm trying to say. So they earn your consideration in that regard, I feel. If you have any questions on the Donjo 1512 hinge pin doorstop and a CP, chrome plated finish, or any other Donjo product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.